made that comment in jest about having people slow down the testing. The vice president just said that it was made in passing. When Peter Navarro said it was tongue-in-cheek. But when the president himself was just asked by a reporter like an hour ago, he did not say that he was just joking when he said that he told officials to slow down the testing.
The president instead used that opportunity to extol the fact that we've done more than 25 million tests, that we're finding more people because we're doing more testing. And I would note that what the vice president said and Peter Navarro, whether it's in jest, in passing, or tongue-in-cheek, those are all synonymous.
Well, why is that
yes,
funny?
Justin.
And I just want to note, to follow up on what you do, you don't even have to answer this. The media has never called it the Kung flu. Calling it the Chinese coronavirus and calling it the Kung flu are very different things.
The media and your network specifically
called it the Kung flu.
The media and your network specifically have repeatedly used the term China virus and Wuhan virus, and then gone on to deride the president as somehow using a term that they themselves have never used. So we can go through CNN's history.
Kayleigh.
I'd be more than happy to go through CNN's history. On February 9th, you guys talked about the Wuhan coronavirus. On January 23rd, you guys talked about the Wuhan coronavirus. On January 22nd, the Wuhan virus. I can write it all out for you and detail it for you in an email.
Kayleigh,
Yes,
you've got
Justin.
to admit that. It is not the same thing as calling it the Kung
Justin.
flu.
I first want to just follow on what you were just talking about with Berman. So obviously the president made the decision to nominate Clayton for the job, and that led to the sort of kerfuffle that we saw over the weekend. But there's this decision to remove Berman from the post before Clayton was nominated, or before Clayton was either nominated or, more importantly, confirmed. And so I think the question is, why did you take the acting U.S. attorney out of his job before there was a Senate confirmed replacement?
Because there's an intent to put Clayton there, and so there will be an interim individual, an acting attorney, as we work to get Mr. Clayton in that position.
Yeah, but I guess the question is, why didn't he continue in his position until Clayton was confirmed?
Because we are hopeful that Clayton will be confirmed. We're not leaving him there. We're putting an interim person in place. No investigation will be affected by this, as was made clear by Attorney General Barr.
All right, then,
Yes,
sorry,
Steve.
I wanted to ask about, the president over the weekend said that he didn't impose sanctions on China over the Uyghur internment camps because he was worried about his ability to negotiate the trade deal. But since the trade deal was signed in January, China, as you mentioned earlier, not only has acted in ways that you frustrated with on coronavirus, but the president has announced their behavior in Hong Kong, and they've failed to live up to many of the tenets of the trade deal itself. At the same time, the president signed an executive order on international religious liberty. So I'm wondering when, if ever, is the president actually going to sanction Chinese officials under either the original legislation or the legislation he signed last week?
So I'll get an update for you on that, but what I will say so far is, and you noted this in your question, that he signed legislation to hold China accountable for the treatment, for their treatment of the Uyghurs and other minorities in China. But he also previously has imposed visa restrictions on Chinese officials for roles in China's treatment of Uyghurs and other minorities. He's blacklisted companies that were complicit in China's treatment. He has taken strong action.